Okay, so this is where we tell the stories, right? Because I've got one and no one who matters believes me. And all my goddamn coworkers just keep telling me to shut up about it. But they don't get it. They don't have to put up with the cold spots and everything. Ugh, sorry, let me start this from the top. I'm just really upset. I need someone to actually hear me, so I stop feeling like I'm going crazy. So, I'm a guy, not gonna say my exact age, but early 20s, and I work in this hotel. Her name's Astoria. Its name's Astoria. Everyone at work calls it a her. Sorry, I do it there too, but it's a goddamn it. Okay, she or her is way too human. It's like that whole thing way back when, where people called all the baby stealers the good people because they were scared of insulting them. Anyways, I started working there like maybe a year ago, and it's always been weird. When my coworkers showed me around for the first time, I noticed they were all concerned about me, which was kinda nice, not gonna lie. You get treated like crap at so many workplaces, especially as the newbie, but people at Astoria were really nice to me, just sometimes babied me a bit much, and in really weird ways. For example, right, I forgot to explain, I'm with the cleaning crew, right? Basically, I'm a male maid. Anyways, when I went out with the other maids for cleaning, you know how often in hotels it's the norm to knock and announce yourself before you enter a room for cleaning, even if it's supposed to be empty. So, being new, I forgot that once or twice, always because the guest had already checked out, so I just didn't consider that anyone could still be in there. And no one was, so no big deal, right? A normal person would probably give me a reminder and keep it at that. Yeah, my cleaning partners didn't keep it at that. They'd freak out, drag me out of the room, then apologize to the empty rooms and close the door. Some would really yell at me, but never before waiting for something, all tensed up and everything. If I tried saying anything, even to apologize, they'd shush me really aggressively. The first few times, I was too distracted to realize what they were waiting for. I think it was Yana who actually toned down the aggression enough to just put her finger on her lips and tap her ear when I tried to speak, letting me know that I needed to listen. So I shut up and listened, and it was real quiet. Like, it's a hotel, right? There are quieter times, but usually there's some hustle and bustle somewhere going on, and the building isn't brand new either, so you can often hear it settling, or some wind whistling through somewhere, or pipes banging, or gurgling. But in that moment, there was absolutely nothing, like the place was on mute. That was the first time I felt all the strange sensations Astoria makes you feel. I mean, I think it's her. It gets really cold, the kind that really creeps into your skin, like when you had to work with cold water while the heating is down and you just can't really warm up after. And there was this feeling of someone glaring at me, with some real anger behind it too. And then it suddenly stopped and all the sound was back, along with the normal temperature, and Yana took a deep breath of relief and gave me a small frown and a reminder to always announce myself, no matter what. So yeah, that's the kind of stuff that happened. I really tried to keep track of the small rules we had to adhere to. None of them were even too out there. There were some rooms that were off limits, some signs to know how some rooms were off limits for a day or some hours only, and naturally you had to use the right cleaning products for everything. I gotta say, I was always surprised by how little the maids there slacked off, and by how much the bosses paid attention to having enough of us there and giving us enough time for our work. We were always enough to go in pairs, which is just nicer and safer, and we always had the time and materials to really get stuff nice and clean. If it weren't for the weird moments, I think I would prefer staying in that hotel myself over others. Nice and clean, but sue me, but I'm just not as anal about doing my best job all the time as the others were. First off, so what if I don't do it perfectly today? If I skip a step today, someone else is gonna do it tomorrow. It's not like it won't get done or anything. And secondly, listen, I'm just not passionate about being the best bang for my boss's buck. If they wanted to have it done perfectly, they'd do it themselves. My coworkers didn't see it my way though. They always told me I was going to get them in trouble, even though no one ever supervised us. And I wouldn't slack off under supervision either. I'm not an idiot. Said we had to look out for each other. After a while, most of them just refused to work together with me, which really hurt. So that's when I got picked up by Maria, Maria definitely had some migration background, maybe something South American or Eastern European. Never managed to really untangle that accent of hers, but she was mad pretty for someone her age, like in her 40s, maybe even approaching 50. Like yeah, her face had some wrinkles, but they all looked to be from smiling and laughing. She smiled and laughed a lot in general and hummed. She seemed really happy there at the hotel. I never really knew how to feel about her. I mean, on one hand, I kinda resented her a little bit. The others had really high standards about their work already, but Maria, she went above and beyond, like she was hoping to get a top grade in hotel cleaning. Not only did she really pay attention to every little detail, I even saw her bring in some of her own cleaning products. The ones provided to us weren't good enough for her precious Astoria. In her opinion, imagine spending your own money on work material. Couldn't be me. She arrived early and stayed late. She never actually told any of us that our work sucked, but got caught constantly fixing up stuff we hadn't done to her standards. That's just really annoying after a while, you know. No one likes that one ideal little worker bee, but at the same time, she was just nice. Again, when everyone else just wrote me off because they said I couldn't even listen to the easiest instructions, Maria took me on as her partner all the time, and it's not like she had no alternatives. Everyone loved working with Maria, probably because she loved picking up anyone else's slack, but they also always said that it was safer. Yana once told me Astoria tolerates us, but she loves Maria. Maria loved Astoria more though, I'd reckon. I mean, for one, that thing can't love, but Maria had a lot of love inside that big heart of hers. And yeah, a lot of that was spent on that hotel. When we worked together, she'd always point out small details to me and tell me about historical facts and anecdotes about Astoria. She could gush about this place for hours on end. And to it, too, I heard her say stuff like, "Oh no, look at what they did to your sheets," or "And now your windows here are nice and clean again. Do you like it?" Constantly. She didn't even seem to care if I heard it too. But alright, enough about Maria. I should get to the point, to the day I actually realized what a horrible situation I'm in. Maria and I were going through our rooms again, and that day we also had some that had patrons in it. This happened a lot to the pairs I was part of, because most of the maids were these little 5'0" ladies. In empty rooms, that's no issue. But if a guest happens to be somewhat unsavory for any reason, be it an angry Karen or a grabby drunkard, those little ladies seem like prime prey for them. Having a guy along helps, even if I'm pretty average all things considered. So one of the rooms had the guest, some middle-aged guy, walk in while I was cleaning the bathroom with the door only cracked a little, and Maria tending to the bed. I was listening to music on my headphones, so I didn't even notice him at first. I remember how I was turned away from the door, taking a little break to scroll through the playlist on my phone, when the music cut off. With the worst burst of static I've ever heard in my life, I immediately pulled the headphones out, but I didn't even get to cuss about it before I heard the voices in the adjacent room. Something about the tones made the hair stand up on my neck and had me freeze for a moment before I quietly crept towards the door to peek out. I saw the guest standing in front of the bed between Maria and the path to the door. Maria was completely tensed up, eyes constantly darting towards the door in an attempt to find a way past the guy. She was still smiling, but it was so deeply uncomfortable, and her hands were raised as if she hoped it would protect her from him. "Come on, sweetheart, you don't need to be scared. I might even give you a nice little bonus to stock up your piddly little salary for the month. How about it? 20 euros, 50, he cooed while trying to inch closer to her. Poor Maria was backed up against the bed frame, her hands trembling, as she shook her head repeatedly. "Thank you, sir, but no, sir. I'm in a relationship, sir," she stammered out, notably struggling to string the words together. It was like the stress of the situation set back her language skills. I don't blame her. I remember my own mind going blank too, like everything was suddenly so real. I couldn't think straight. When her eyes met mine for a long moment, most of the gears in my brain started turning again. It was like she was begging me for help. I was behind the guy, so maybe she thought I could just burst out and tackle him down. But like, what if he had a weapon? Hell, even if he didn't, he could probably throw quite a punch. I was terrified. Like, if someone has the guts to do this, they won't hesitate to throw down, I'm sure. My heart jumped into my neck when he half turned his head to see what she'd been looking at, but before he could find the crack in the bathroom door, the lights in it flickered and went out. I was so frozen that I'm pretty sure I didn't even breathe when he looked in my direction, and I guess together with the darkness compared to the bright room he stood in, he couldn't spot me at a quick glance. Maria, bless her heart, tried to seize the opportunity to dive past him, but he was faster. He had her wrist in a tight grip in an instant and tossed her on the bed, and then he was above her, a hand pressed to her mouth, while she thrashed and cried, "The quiet baby, I'll make it worth your time," he said, making me almost dry heave from the grease of it. Disgusting. If only someone did something. I had to press a clammy hand against the doorframe, feeling like the ground beneath me was tilting. It felt like I was going to tip over and fall out of the door at any moment, and I think I could even hear the walls around me creak. I saw the guy's free hand wander to his belt, and I saw my own breath in the cold air. Some things fell over. There were some chemical smells in my nose, and then the door slammed shut, and the noise erupted from the other side. It was absolutely deafening. Screams, cries, begs, all above a cacophony of creaking floors and walls, cracking concrete, and the wet noises of something firm being crunched into small pieces. I heard him gargle and weep, and then another final wet crunch cut him off, and only Maria's weeping remained. The rest was quiet again, the kind of quiet from the days when I effed up. I was trembling so badly, my own teeth shattering should have overpowered the sobs next door, but it didn't. Not even my attempts to call out for Maria or to knock on the door made any sound. I fell onto my 4 letters, utterly knocked off balance still, and realized that the floor was completely wet with something. I could only fish my phone out of the liquid with some soundless swears. For a moment I dreaded the stickiness of blood or something, but when I carefully sniffed my phone and the air, I noticed it was just cleaning agents. And then I realized that, oh damn, it was different cleaning agents. The scents in my nose were definitely some that were not supposed to be mixed like that. Maybe that was why I felt so weird. I definitely felt lightheaded and nauseous. Nothing an open window can't fix, I thought, and reached for the door handle. The door didn't budge. Let me be clear, it wasn't locked. I never locked it, and you could only lock it from the inside. When I tried the lock, it was in the open position. The goddamn hotel just didn't want me out, and it didn't want Maria to hear me either. I tried calling for her. I tried banging on the door. I threw myself against it with all my might, even though at this point, that wasn't much. But none of that made any noise. My phone didn't turn on right, the screen only ever briefly lighting up for a split second like someone pressed the off button the moment I tried to turn it on. I could only watch the battery drain a huge chunk each time, until the damn thing died for good. For a moment, I almost accepted my fate. I didn't understand why this place wanted me dead all of a sudden, but honestly, part of me was just glad that I didn't have to go the same way that Scumbag did. I remember feeling really faint, some parts of my skin burning from, I guess, some chemical reactions against it. My back propped against the door, as I hoped to just pass out soon, and then the door opened, letting me flop out of the room. I laid on my back, staring up into Maria's tired face. She was still trying to sniffle back some snot from crying, as hard as she had. "Go home," she told me after a while. I tried to reach up, to comfort and thank her, but you should have seen how she recoiled from me, like I was slimy and disgusting. "Please, go home, now," she reiterated, not even looking at me. Then she turned to leave. Despite still feeling woozy, I scrambled to my legs in record time to run past her out of the room. I didn't want to be in that place for even a minute longer. Somehow, I made it all the way downstairs, out of the hotel, into my car, even home, without any issues. I wish I could just have quit on the spot, but, thought I'd eat. I took sick leave for a week or so, but I had to go back eventually. Maria won't look at me anymore, but bless her heart, she still works with me. She doesn't leave my side at all at the hotel. No smile for me, and she keeps reminding me to find a new job. But she also doesn't ever leave me alone in a room. I'm glad she doesn't, because whenever she absolutely has to, it gets cold again, and I can feel that glare and the quiet. No idea what that thing's problem with me is, but I'm pretty sure that back in that bathroom, the door wouldn't have opened for anyone else, and I shudder to think what'll happen if I have to rely on anyone else to keep me safe from this thing now. I tried to tell my coworkers, but Yana had been the only one who didn't just shut me down and walk off. She just gave me this wide-eyed look, like I did something wrong somehow, and she told me that I'm lucky Maria is too nice to agree with the hotel, and that I better get out soon. Great, really helpful. At least she told me I probably wouldn't need to be afraid of whatever happened to that guest. Although my relief was short-lived when Yana added something onto that. She normally makes it look like an accident. Don't let her run out of options again. I hear McDonald's is always hiring. Those need cleaning too, right?